What's up, guys? Welcome back to the G Wagoon Show. I'm Jeremy, and thank you for tuning into this episode. It is sponsored by my boy Craig Fleming at Fleming's Cleaning. Go ahead and use code word GY13 and get 10% off your next commercial or residential cleaning. Okay, we know it's summer; it's already ending. Let's get your house clean before it's fall time. Okay. If you are listening to this on YouTube, go ahead and follow us on Spotify. Because if you're like me and you're on the road driving, I like to listen to podcasts on Spotify. Okay. Go ahead and follow all our major socials: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. We got it all. Like, comment, and share all this content. Share it to as many people as you can. All right. My next guest, he helps veterans get their small business up and running. Without further ado, let's get into it. Matt Kemp.
What's going on, man?
Oh, it's going, brother. I really appreciate you taking your time. I know you're super busy running two businesses and stuff like that, and I know your time is very valuable.
No, I'm glad to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, you're actually the first Army veteran I have that's ever had an ARCOM with V device too. So we'll get into that. A lot of people that watch my channel, they're citizens, they never served, so they're still trying to get with the acronyms and the awards and stuff like that. So
Right.
we'll get into that, how you got it and everything like that. So Matt Kemp, owner of Red 7 Strategy Group and Dialed In Staffing. If you guys ever have a small business, we'll talk more into it while we get further along. And I'm happy to have this conversation with him.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
It's been a journey.
yeah, it sure is. Everything seems like a blur, right? Like everything you went through till now.
Yeah, like every time March or every time mid-May hits, that's whenever I got out of the military, and it's like adding another year of being a civilian. It's
Yeah.
just like I've been out for almost 20 years, 15 years. That's time flies. It's crazy.
Wow. Has it really been like 15 years already?
Yeah, I got out in May of 2008.
Oh wow, dude. I was
So
still in middle school.
yeah, yeah.
Dude. That's cool, man. So did you join the army right out of high school or what?
Yeah, so I grew up in Havre, Montana, which is a very small rural Montana town.
Love Montana.
Yeah, and at first, whenever I graduated high school, I was like, I'm gonna do the college thing, and there was a small community college there. So at the age of 17, I moved in to a crappy apartment with one of my best friends. Didn't go to school, like failed out my first semester,
Yeah.
and was had to move back in with my parents, which is nobody wants to do that.
Right.
And then whenever I signed the papers for the army, I selected Fort Drum because I was like, I live in Montana, I do
Yeah.
outdoor stuff in the winter, like it's going to be an easy transition. So I signed the papers the first week of September 2001.
Oh wow.
So I was still working. I went to work at Kmart and
Yeah.
walked into like the wall of TVs that they had
Yeah.
on September 11th, and I was just like, oh, okay, this kind of changes my trajectory of being in the military, because at the time there was no conflict. Maybe you do a deployment to Sinai, Egypt, or Macedonia or something.
Yeah.
So I had signed the papers, and then a week later, September 11th happened. So that baptism by fire for sure.
Yeah. You were still what, 17 at the time during the 9/11 thing?
I
You just turned 18.
I just turned 18.
Okay, cool. And what initially drew you to the army? Like, did you ever consider a different branch or anything like that?
No, none of my family ever served, and I think it was just a couple of guys that I was in high school with ended up joining the army, and
Yeah.
that was my only frame of reference. It wasn't like I was destined to do it or had
Yeah.
always wanted to do it. It was kind of like I'm working part time at Kmart. I live in Havre, Montana, with my parents. Like, let's go ahead and jumpstart this life and do something.
Yeah. Did you have like the typical infantry childhood? You're like, nah, my parents were real rough on me. I was a bad kid, or
Yeah, I mean, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a cop, and
oh, okay.
I got in plenty of trouble. A little trouble with the law.
Right.
Random gun ticket for throwing Molotov cocktails at each other.
Oh,
running from the highway patrolmen whenever they break up the pasture party, and just
Yeah,
kind of hillbilly stuff, but
yeah.
not really.
So how big is the town that you're in?
Uh, it was 10,000 people whenever I left. I think it's down to like 9,000 now. But
Oh wow.
it was a small town for sure.
Yeah. And how was the atmosphere when 9/11 happened? Where like the obviously you probably got some preppers in Montana, right, in that area.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people were probably like, "This is my time," you know?
It was crazy. But I like I became a home. That's whenever the hometown hero thing started. So
Okay.
everybody that goes to basic training gets put in the newspaper, and you get a little miniature, parade slash, welcome home thing whenever you get home from basic. Like it made you a big deal, in a little town for sure.
That's pretty cool. So like before you shipped off to basic, they're like, "Hey, who's gonna?" They had like a newspaper article. They're like, "These submit names here and stuff like that."
Yeah, and it's like I got a admission to the Elks Club, and then the American Legion, like all these like vet organizations
Yeah.
in town were just like, you're in, buddy. You're one of us now. And it's so it was a trip. It was a trip for an 18-year-old kid to be like, oh wow,
Yeah.
like, but this was, in 2001, like there hadn't been, essentially a large scale war since Vietnam. So it's
Yeah.
like the appreciation was something that folks are still trying to figure out how to do. And it was just, it was an interesting time.
Yeah. How did you feel like? Because I assume your recruiter probably told you like, "Hey, man, like before you shipped off to the last MEPS going off to basic training, like, hey, man, you're probably gonna go to war, especially as an infantryman." Did you select infantryman, or were you kind of given that MOS?
No, I did pretty good on the ASVAB score. I had to retake it because the first one I just marked a bunch of answers, and I think I got like a 4 or something like that, like something super low. He's like, I could tell that you didn't try on this. Um, so I had to retake it, and I got high enough to pick other jobs, but I had just never considered anything but infantry, just because. I mean, I hunted and shot guns and did outdoor stuff, camping, four wheeling. So like it made sense. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And like I
sure.
couldn't foresee myself doing anything but infantry.
Yeah. And then, so how far did you ship out? Like until like after 9/11, correct? Because you did your MEPS thing and you saw the TVs. So,
Yeah. So that at that time,
uh
there was actually a wait to get into the army. So
wow,
I signed all the papers, and I didn't leave for basic training until January of 2002.
wow, why was there such a wait?
I mean, it wasn't at the they weren't moving folks through basic and through MEPS at this like anywhere near the scale that they are now.
Yeah.
So it was I think it was called deferred. Um, it was like a deferred deployment type thing.
Oh,
But yeah,
delayed
I signed
entry.
yeah. So like I signed papers or first week of September, left for what was it 30th AG, uh, and I was there for like 3 weeks, and then we did
Wow.
the full basic training, the full 14 weeks.
Yeah. And how are you feeling? Like what time of the year is this over there? Because you're going to Georgia.
Yeah, it was
To
cold. It was in January of
Yeah.
2002. So
Okay.
it sucked. I mean, I regretted it. Going the infantry route. I got there and I was just like, man, this all sucks. Like this is not
Yeah.
going to be fun. Um, and yeah, I did well through basic. Um, but it was already, and this is an unfortunate, a sad start to a larger problem. But one of my buddies I was supposed to go in with, they had like a battle buddy program.
Right.
Uh, he wasn't able to he wasn't able to go because he had recent surgery on his knee, and they wouldn't let him. Uh, he didn't pass MEPS, and then he took his life halfway through while I was through basic training,
Uh,
and so it was just like already not starting out, on a great foot.
yeah.
So
What are they? So since so January 2002, and you're in 30th AG, starting basic training, and we're like getting in Afghanistan right now. Like, are they telling
Mhm.
y'all like, hey, the war's hyping up, or is it not really?
The
Or
rumor mill in the army at that time was preposterous. Everybody was just like, "You're not even going to your unit. Like you're going straight to Kuwait to prep to break into Afghanistan." It's just like, what are y'all talking about? Like, I've been in the army for 45 minutes, and it's like nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's full of it. But yeah, we were getting updates through basic training, but it's like I already knew that I was going to the 10th Mountain Division. And
yeah,
what the drill sergeants did whenever we got, our official orders is it was basically if you were going to 10th Mountain, 82nd, or 101st, they were just like, you're deploying. Like you just understand that. And then guys that were going to mech units at the time, they're just like, you're good. You're going to go to NTC in California. That's going to be your
yeah,
deployment.
and hate
Because
it.
because at the time it was supposed to be like, oh, we're going to go get Osama bin Laden, and then it's going to take a couple months, and then we're going to go get some bad guys, and then everybody's going to come home. And it was
Yeah,
so whenever I whenever I got there in 2003, uh, I I want to say there were like 15,000 troops there in the whole country. Like it
yeah,
was us. It was like our brigade, and then like a brigade of 82nd, and then some spec ops folks running around there. But
yeah.
it was not a lot of people there at all.
Yeah. How did you? So let's back up a little bit. Like, were you an athletic kid? Like, how did you feel basic training was for you and everything like that? Like,
It
was
was
it
pretty
the
good.
hardest physical activity?
Yeah, I mean, I played soccer all the way
Oh, okay. So
through
you're a
high
runner.
school. Yeah, so I maxed out the run. Um, and I lifted weights too. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't jacked or anything, but yeah, it was okay from like a physiological perspective. Uh, I was 5'8" and 160 pounds whenever I joined the army. So I hit a growth spurt while I was 19 and 20. So
Yeah.
I grew 3 inches while I was, my first 2 years in the army.
Oh,
So
that's
that
cool.
first time so the first time I came home, I was, had a little more meat on me and,
Yeah.
a little bit taller. So
Yeah. They injected you with that Captain America serum,
yeah,
huh?
it was all that anthrax vaccine and things like that.
Hey, so after like your what is it like 4 weeks after basic, you guys do like the infantry school, right?
Yeah, it's all one. I think at
Yeah.
the time they called it one station unit training. So
Hmm.
you do your basic training and then you do your infantry stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's all infantry drill sergeants all the way through.
And when you went, like you went on leave right after, right before you went to your duty station.
Yeah, yeah. You
How,
go
how,
for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
how did you feel, hometown hero, man? Rolling
Oh,
out the
dude,
red carpet, dude.
I Johnny Cool Guy. It was good. It was fun. My dad refused to fly, so we actually drove from Georgia to Montana, which ate
Oh
up like
wow.
3 days of my leave. But it was
Yeah.
cool to, hang out with the family, eat hamburgers. That was one crazy thing that I was very surprised by. I was craving hamburgers, like real, like a Burger King, just like crappy hamburger, and I just crushed them as soon as I got out.
Yeah. It's like freedom meal, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And what? So what time frame are you reporting to drum?
Uh, it would have been April, probably like March, April timeframe,
Yeah. Oh, so
2002.
it's not too bad over there right
There
now,
was
and
snow on the ground when I got
yeah,
there
especially
for
from
sure.
Montana. So
Yeah, but one thing I realized is, yeah, we did lots of outside stuff growing up in Montana, but like army outside and infantry outside is way different than any other
yeah,
outside.
sucks.
It's not fun. Yeah, you're not having a great time.
Dude,
Like,
there's literally nothing fun about going to field or camping in the army, dude. There's literally
right.
nothing.
Yeah, and it's like you're just walking everywhere or running everywhere,
Yeah,
and you have heavy stuff on,
yeah,
and still to this day, every single time that I see like crappy weather outside, I'm
yeah.
like, there's an infantry dude sleeping in that somewhere, and it's not me.
Yeah, I think about that all the time too, man. I'm like I live in Texas and it's like 105 degrees. I'm like, dude, thank God. I'm not
Yeah.
outside right now. Oh man. I couldn't live without the AC like I do now. So
Yeah. And I mean, but Fort Drum was like kind of a division wide thing for the 10th Mountain Division was like you're going to
yeah,
be outside just doing stuff. And whenever we would go on battalion runs, all the time, and everybody would just be in shorts and t-shirt, and it's
yeah.
15 degrees outside. Uh,
Damn.
it sucked. And then we
Yeah.
would we would always do road marches, even whenever there was ice on the ground. I mean, they really embraced the 10th Mountain Division, legacy and
Yeah.
and all that. But it
They're
was just
like,
outside and cold all the time.
yeah, they're like, we're gonna make y'all suck for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But there's some good to it, right? Because like I always tell people, like if you don't train the way you fight, like it'll be easier when you get there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
We I don't know if it was easier, but I'm
prepare.
definitely glad that we saw like we had to eat it a lot in training before we got to Afghanistan because it
Yeah,
was the mountains like we're just nothing that we had
yeah,
ever done before.
absolutely. So how are you guys like training? Because when you get there, do you find out you're going to Afghanistan right away, or like do you find out later on?
No, because again, this is where like the rumor mill was crazy. They're just like, everybody's like, oh, I got a buddy that works at battalion that saw some orders that, like we're
Yeah,
deploying tomorrow. And it was just a lot of stuff like that. But there had only been one battalion that had went to Afghanistan in 2002, I believe. And then they were going to cycle in 82nd and then cycle in 101st, because those were the only three divisions at the time, I believe, at least for the main areas that were going in there. And then I think after 2004, they started cycling in, some of the mechanized units, the 25th ID, um, a couple other infantry units, infantry battalions and brigades into
yeah.
those AOs.
So what are you guys like? Obviously, you guys are going to the field, but like, are you
Mhm.
guys? Do they tell y'all, yeah, we're gonna train like we're gonna go?
Oh yeah, everybody was. Yeah, they were like, we don't know when we're going to Afghanistan, but we are going to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So we
Damn, we're
did
not even talking
lots.
about Iraq, huh?
Yeah, Iraq hadn't even started yet.
Yeah.
So we did lots of field training, lots of like enter and clearing a trench. So we were like training on trench warfare, not so much on battle drill 6, which is enter and clear a room.
Yeah.
But we kind of trained on that, but it was all just outside, just humping rucksacks. So I was also on an anti-tank team. So
Uh-huh.
I was a javelin gunner.
Oh,
So that meant that I had to carry the fake javelin round on my
yeah.
shoulder, uh, on top of my rucksack. So to be on the anti-tank team, you had to be good at PT, and you had to be smart enough to work thermal sights and all that.
Right.
So that added an additional level of suck. So we were just doing that a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, we also trained with some mechanized units. Like we went to Fort Knox for like a 3 month thing or a 2 month thing, something like that. We went to Fort Polk, so we got to do all those type of train ups.
Hmm.
Um, but at the time, there was nobody in our unit that had a CIB. No, nobody had deployed.
Right.
It was the very first deployment for everybody. So like nobody
Yeah.
knew what to expect. What you think about that now, like it's crazy to meet somebody like somebody in a unit that's never deployed, like that's a crazy thing. But
Yeah.
to have an entire battalion or an entire brigade where there's just like three dudes that were in Mogadishu and just
Yeah.
happened to stay in, uh, yeah. So nobody knew what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy because it's kind of like I hate to say it like this, but it's kind of like a rite of passage for the infantry to have their CIB and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
people are like craving at it. And I always tell them like, at what price is it for? And at the time we don't think about it because we're young and dumb. Like me, I got my CMB and I wanted it so bad, but like, at what price was it for? I look at back when I'm older now,
right.
and it's actually I would say our R8 our generation of warfighter. Like we have our combat badges, but now it's like we're back to that cycle because the GWOT kind of ended, right? So now you got
Right.
guys like getting their EIB and their EAB, whatever the hell it is now, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
weird, you know?
Well, they did the same thing after Vietnam. They started booting out all the all the war fighters and wanted to keep all the garrison soldiers. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what they started doing with the GWOT generation of guys. Like uh, stories that I heard from dudes that were just like there were guys that were in for 10 or 15 years that were just like, I can't do this anymore. This is like y'all got to send me to Iraq or Afghanistan or something. Like I can't live this garrison lifestyle. And they're like,
yeah,
you got to go. Um, and that's because a peacetime army is not going to work with a whole bunch of dudes that have been through multiple deployments, because they're going to say, oh, we have this big layout that we got to do. They're like, I don't give a shit about your layout, man. Like
yeah,
it's not that important to me. And
yeah,
so you have to have other peacetime soldiers to do peacetime garrison stuff.
yeah,
And it's it happens, every organization has to change. So a peacetime military is, good on uniform inspections and layouts.
yeah, dude. You really hit me hard right there because I deployed, 5 months after AIT, so after the medical school. I would deploy.
Mhm.
I got out of September, deployed in December, and then dude, I was still paying my GI Bill off in Afghanistan. And then I came back, and I just could not adapt to the garrison life. It was so hard for me to adapt. It took me like 4 or 5 years to
Oh yeah.
adapt. And then, like, I actually, what you just said though, I felt that I wasn't matching the other garrison soldiers, even though I was getting promoted. It just didn't. The energy didn't feel right,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it
When we
sucked.
got back from like on the plane ride back from Iraq, my second deployment, my LT looked at me as soon as we landed and he said, "You're now worthless to me."
What the fuck?
Because he's just like, you're a break glass in case of war type of squad leader. Like you're not a garrison
Yeah,
squad leader. And he knew that. It was a term of endearment. He's just like,
yeah,
you're of no use to me now because we are no longer in Iraq. Like, and he also knew I was getting out. But
yeah,
yeah, dude, I would not have survived the garrison lifestyle. Like
yeah,
it was the it's a different type of person. It's a different type of soldier, different type of army.
for sure. And okay, so when do you learn? Do you have like 90 days to prepare to go to Afghanistan?
Yeah,
No.
I feel like they gave us like a 3 month or 1 month heads up on it because it was still kind of like an OPSEC thing at the
Yeah.
time. So we couldn't, you know, I want to say it was like a month heads up because we
Yeah.
got to go on block leave right before that, and then we got to tell all our family and everything
Yeah.
that we're leaving.
What are you guys hearing?
Well, because at the time they're like it's a 6 month deployment. You're gonna do Bagram. You're gonna do 2 months 2 months at Bagram, force security, and then 2 months in Asadabad. Asadabad's gonna be the only place that you see any combat, and then you're gonna come back and be on QRF for 2 months. So that's kind of what we were training up for. A lot of force protection procedures and things like that. Um, so it seemed pretty straightforward of what we were going to do, and it didn't seem like there was a lot of unknowns out there. I mean, obviously there was a lot of unknowns, but from like what are we going to be doing over there, it seemed pretty planned out.
Yeah. What are they telling y'all the mission is though? We're still trying to like who are y'all trying to
Like
get or just what?
get Osama bin Laden,
Yeah.
enclose with and destroy the enemy, like that was it.
Yeah.
Because the hearts and minds era had not hit yet.
Yeah.
It was still like, let's go over there and get the Taliban. Like
Yeah.
it was all just, we're going to go pick a fight and we're going to go get bad guys.
Yeah, I went during the Hearts and Minds like 2012, 2013, and dude, let me tell you something. It's very I'm pretty sure you know, I'm not going to insult your intelligence, but people that are watching, it's very hard to Hearts and Minds people that don't want to Hearts and Minds people.
Yeah.
They are that place is just brutal with fighters, like right, the Taliban, like they're just
Mhm.
brutal fighters and they're
Yeah.
very good at it.
Yeah. Chechens were in the mix too. I mean, we had That's right about the time 2003, 2004 was whenever they started to get a lot of foreign fighters in there, and just you know causing a ruckus. It's
Yeah.
a good way to put it.
Yeah. So you guys go to Kuwait, right?
No, we went to Kyrgyzstan.
Oh, Manis.
Maybe I don't
That's
remember
where I went.
exactly what it
Yeah.
was called.
I went to Kyrgyzstan. It was Manis. It was like an Air Force
Yeah,
base.
yeah. It
Yeah.
was, and it was cool, man. I was like, hey, this is not a bad start. Like, it was pretty chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good food, but it was weird being in a foreign country for the first time, besides Mexico or Canada, you know.
Right.
And so you kind of like bright eyed, just kind of walk around like, oh shit, this is a different
Yeah.
part of the world.
Right. How did your family take you leaving? Like, were you married yet or anything like that? Or
No, I was the family was very like your traditional proud family.
right.
So it was like uh, they were the biggest supporters of it, even though they were kind of terrified because I joined the army in the infantry as soon as the war kicked off, or as soon as
Yeah.
right before we got attacked. So, um, yeah, they were happy about it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're supportive about it. We'll
Yeah.
say,
Yeah. They're very proud that
yeah,
my son's gonna go over there and fight for the country.
yeah, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
both my parents were very much so a God country family. That's like the code, or
Yeah.
that's the honor code.
Right.
And so that, yeah, they were all about it. Of
Yeah.
course, scared, but yeah, they were with it.
And I actually thought Manus was really nice. I don't know what time frame you. Oh, it's probably green over there, super green, right? When you go,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it was nice,
it's
beautiful mountains
right.
and all that.
And do you guys take off at night to Afghanistan, or do you remember?
Yeah, we took a C-130 in the
Yeah,
middle of the night, and I remember whenever we got off, um, it was just like you couldn't see anything. Like we didn't have our nods, they were like all in tap boxes and stuff like that because
yeah,
we were landing on Bagram,
yeah,
and then as soon as the sun comes up, then you're just like looking around and you're just like, oh, okay, like I'm in Afghanistan. That's kind of crazy,
yeah,
and it's you never would have thought you were there and put all this train up. You're like, I'm wondering what it's going to be like once we get there. And it was
yeah,
just a whole bunch of plywood huts and like no AC units.
yeah,
Um, there was a PX in the middle, and then there was a couple other uh, foreign governments had their little section there. But I mean, like it was fairly simple back then. There was no Burger Kings or anything like that. It was just
yeah,
a chow hall and a PX, and we actually kind of got our cherry popping mission right off the bat. So we were there for a week, and they said you guys need to act as QRF and cordon security for an SF raid that's coming up tomorrow. And we're just like, okay, like let's go get bad guys. And so it was four Chinooks dropped off, four platoons around this big compound. And we were just outside security, and then SF came in there and raided it for whoever they were. We were there for like 3 or 4 hours, and then Chinooks came, landed, and then took us back home. So we're just like, okay, like we just did our first combat mission. Like
yeah,
that was pretty cool. Like nothing happened, no shots fired or anything like that.
yeah.
But we
I
got
mean,
dropped off in a poppy field around a
yeah.
huge compound in Afghanistan. So it's like, all right, we're doing it.
Did they tell y'all like why they were going after that specific compound or no?
Nah, they're just like you're gonna go make sure nobody out, nobody in
Yeah.
for an SF raid.
And you were doing the 2 months thing, right? So you were 2 months at Bagram.
Yeah. So
And
this was like as right before we were going to start up as security force protection, and that was basically just sitting in guard towers for 10 hours a day. It sucked. It was not cool.
yeah, it never is. Pulling guard never is. So
Right. But so we did, other than that first mission, like that, our first 2 months at Bagram was just tower guard,
yeah,
and nothing ever happens on tower guard.
no.
So, but we were all like, oh man, we already got our first mission in the books, like we're combat veterans. And
Yeah,
but then whenever we got out to Asadabad, we were ripping out um, the I think it was a company footprint. So they had the base, and then they had 3 OPs around it in the mountains, because the fob was in the bottom of a valley,
Oh
which
damn.
is like the least optimal place to put to put a base.
Yeah.
And we were getting a lot of rocket attacks and a lot of mortars.
Yeah.
So as soon as we get there, we go to the first OP, and they're like, bad guys will come from over here and shoot, or they'll launch rockets from over here.
Yeah.
But what they were doing in Asadabad specifically, just because there were so many mountains around it, is they were attaching calculator solar panels to the rockets, and then they were emplacing them, just kind of aiming them towards the base, and then they
Yeah.
could leave. So whether they had it on like a donkey's back, or whatever covert style that they put it in there. So then, as soon as the sun sets or the sun rises, rockets will engage, but they've been gone for hours. So if we try and fire
Damn.
back, like if we try and do a point of origin, fire mortars back at them, like you're not shooting at anything. You're just
Oh
shooting
my
at a
god.
launch site.
Dude, I had no idea they were doing that stuff, man. They're like I keep saying, the Taliban is very, very crafty.
Yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
it's like, there would be times um, that we would just get rockets going right by our OPs, and there's nothing, like we'd go up and look, but it's like there's nothing there. There's no, like, it's just two rockets being fired leaning off of a rock, and then the sun's either
Yeah.
coming down or coming up. So then we were also able to everybody had to be prepared for rockets at dusk and at dawn.
Yeah. So the company, was it like a 10th Mountain company that you
Yeah.
guys were replacing? Okay. And
Yeah,
I'm
it
trying
was somebody it was another company in our battalion.
okay, so they went there initially while you guys were at Bagram. You guys
Yeah, so it's
rotated.
supposed to be three companies all rotating between QRF, Bagram Security, and then Asadabad.
Okay. And I'm trying to paint the picture for like the the folks that have never been over there. A valley inside of a mountain, right? So we're like in a V, and then the FOB stands for Forward Operating Base, which is like
Mhm.
your main company, right? Your company commander, probably your first sergeant there.
Yeah, that's where all the
And
tents
then
were, and chow
yeah,
hall
your
vehicles.
HAC, and then your OPs are like what, squad size OPs?
Yeah. So it was 3 different mountaintops all surrounding the fob that we
Yeah,
would man for, I want to say it was a week at a time, but I mean,
yeah,
we'd go down to refit, and then, so it'd always be one squad back at the fob, and then 3 squads up in the mountains. So it
yeah,
was like we're living in rocks. Like we
yeah,
had rock, it was rock huts, it was fighting positions.
yeah,
So um, but uh, that was also the first time that uh, that we got any type of rockets shot to us, or sorry, my son is banging on the door right now, so
no, you're good.
let me let him in real quick. Sorry,
No, let me pause it.
he's banging on the door to get let in.
No, you're good,
But
brother.
okay, cool. So yeah, the once we got there, the unit, or the other company that was already up in the mountains, they had been running up those mountains for the last 2 months. So they were already
Yeah,
acclimated to it. The very first time that we went up there, it was the shortest mountain that I went, the shortest distance to the OP, and it absolutely smoked us. Like
yeah,
we were just like, because we had rucksacks, we had AT4s, we had small
yeah.
Ds, like we had extra batteries, extra water. And I remember walking up there, and I was just like, I kind of hope I get shot in the leg, so I'm no longer responsible for moving up this mountain. And it broke us off. And then
Yeah.
we got up there. I remember like doing the rucksack flop at the top once we got to the OP, and I was just like, that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And then the squad leader that was already there, he's like, this is the smallest OP, just so you know. I was just like, all right, that sucks.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was a good realization of like what we're going to be getting into, because
Yeah.
we still had to do roving patrols out from each OP.
Damn.
So I mean, it was a lot of movement. Um, but for the most part, the only enemy contact that we had was was through the rockets and the mortars for the most part.
Okay.
They didn't want to come down and fight with us too often. I want to say maybe a handful of times for the whole company, the whole 2 months that we were there.
Yeah.
Um, but we would still do, patrols out into the village, um, on, like Humvees with zip up windows and just Kevlar blankets in the back. And like that was how we rolled at the time. And but also IEDs, at least for that part of the country at that time, were not very big yet.
Yeah.
So they would have like mortar rounds on the side, like 60 millimeter mortar rounds on the side of the road.
Damn.
So, that's and I think my whole 10 months there, I think we encountered, and this is just my unit, encountered like 3 IEDs. So they
Yeah.
weren't they weren't very, at least in that time in that area, weren't used very commonly.
Yeah. What did they tell you? Why did they tell you guys were getting extended? Because at first you said it was initially 6 months, and then you guys get shifted.
Yeah. So after we finished up our 4 months in Asadabad. So we're like, like, hell yeah, we just got easy peasy going back to Bagram. Like, because we had been counting down and we're like, you're just going to go back. We're going to, we got a PX there. We got showers. Like it's going to be cake for the last end of the deployment. And then they just came and said, we're going to shift to, there's another unit that's going to take over QRF and Tower Guard. You guys are going out to the Ghazni province. So we looked up on a map. We're like, all right, cool. We're going to go out to the Ghazni province because there's apparently a collection of bad guys, doing stuff out there or growing their Taliban footprint. So once we got out there, we found a place to live, built up a compound, uh, put some tents up. We were on Tower Guard, and the SOG, the sergeant of the guard, comes over and he's like, I got good news and I got bad news. This is like ice was just digging into our face. It was very blizzard-like conditions.
Yeah.
And he's like, good news is your shift is almost over. Bad news is we just got extended for another 4 months. And we're just like, okay, he's like, we're going to stay out here for the rest of our deployment. Like we had been there for a week or maybe 2 weeks, no showers. There was a burn pit out the back gate, and then a big old pile of MREs and a big old pile of sandbags and big old pile of water, cases of water and water blivets. And we're just like, what do you mean we're going to be out here until we go back? And they're like,
Yeah.
we're not going back to Bagram. We're not shifting back over to Asadabad. We're staying out in Ghazni. So it was just like, all right, we're just going to be wilderness warriors out here. And so I didn't, we had to go back to Bagram to take showers. And I happened to be one of the last squads rotated. So 67 days without a shower in Afghanistan, doing patrols and tower
Yeah.
guard every day. So it was gnarly, off of 2 sets of DCUs. So it was outdoor stuff for sure.
Dude, and man, first world problems, right? We're used to showering all the time. And I remember we ran out of water too. So I can imagine how hard it was for you guys. Like,
Yeah.
especially you only had 2 uniforms. I had plenty. But dude,
Yeah.
it's your uniform just feels heavy. And then when you finally get to take a shower, maybe you get to put on a new shirt, you're like, dude, what is this? Like America?
Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
like dude.
It's intense.
Yeah. And so you're already what it's 2004 May, like you're what 2 years into your contract and
Yeah.
for your
Well,
contract.
yeah, about 2.5 years. And so I did a 4-year contract.
Okay.
And then so we finish up in Afghanistan. Uh, we stay out in Ghazni. Uh, we actually didn't see too much enemy contact in Ghazni. A couple RPGs shot at us while we were out in the mix. Almost got hit by one, the only big IED in, I think, the whole sector. almost hit our truck. I was a driver because I had already done, off-roading and stuff like that whenever I was in high school doing,
Yeah.
running around doing hillbilly stuff. So I drove one of our Humvees, and it was just a big IED underneath uh, in a sewage drain pipe underneath the road.
Yeah.
But they buried it too deep. So it just left a huge crater, but not a lot of shrapnel. But other than that, we cycled back, and I think Iraq had probably kind of kicked off by then, because
Yeah.
again, the infantry rumor mill, once we got to the airport, they're like, "Oh, I guess we're just that." I got a buddy up in S2, and he said that we're going to go straight to Ramadi from here to help the effort. And it's just like, is this even real? What's going on, man? Like, I'm supposed to be here for 6 months. I'm here for 10. Like, I want to go home. I want to have a hamburger, So
Hey, so you're specialist at this time, right? Like specialist, probably
yeah,
E4.
yeah, I was an E4.
Yeah. How do you feel like at this point in your life? You're like, hey, I should do one more, or I'm done.
No, I wanted to get out. I was just like,
Yeah.
I do not want to do this. And then whenever we got back, uh, that was kind of when the Army, or at least the 10th Mountain Division, was really trying to manage people getting out, because it was right before the surge happened. But what they did is they said, if you're not going, so we get back from Afghanistan. I go home on leave, come back. Um, and they say, if you're not going to reenlist, if you're eligible to reenlist and you're not going to do it, you're going to get put in another battalion. So there was a lot of us that were just like, no, I'm not going to reenlist. I want to get out of the military.
Yeah.
So they now have a battalion of people that don't want to be in the military anymore. And that battalion, the reason they moved everybody to that battalion is because that one was slated for the next deployment, so that they could get everybody stop lost
Oh my
before
God.
all of their contracts end. Yeah. That
That is.
real shitbaggery on a high level.
That is, and this is the green weenie we talk about.
Yeah. So me and a whole bunch of dudes that were like, I don't want to be in the Army anymore. Like, I already did my deployment. I'm done. We got moved over to another battalion. So now you have a whole bunch of people that don't want to be there. And it's just like morale sucks. Everybody's like, we're going to get stop loss before this next deployment.
Yeah.
And Iraq had already kicked off. So we knew that they had said that it was most likely our brigade was going to go to Iraq.
Right.
So in October of 2004, so I'd already been in that new unit for 3 or 4 months, my dad passes away. And then I find out from our S2 that I could put in, or S1, whoever was the admin shop, that my family was living in San Marcos, Texas at the time. So I could put in for a compassionate reassignment to Fort Hood, and I wouldn't have to reenlist. You just finish out your contract there, and I believe you're non-deployable for a year. So you have a death in the family. You're still in the Army. You still, you still have your MOS. So I put it in, and apparently they don't like to approve those because of whatever reason, because it's, the Army. Why would you want to,
Yeah.
allow somebody to go be close
Be
to
happy.
family?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get orders. The unit gets orders for Iraq. So then now it looks like I'm trying to skate out, get out of the unit before we deploy again. And I was just like, hey man, I signed up for a 4-year contract. I'm just trying to do the last year, in Fort Hood, Texas, close to my family. So I ended up getting it approved. So I have a year of non-deployability status so that I could, help with family affairs. Fort Hood puts me in a unit that just got back from Iraq that is slated for another deployment exactly 1 year later, so that they make sure that I get my year of non-deployability out of the way with a unit that just got back, so that I can get fucking stop lost again for a whole nother deployment.
Dude,
So
big green weenie strikes again, dude.
yeah. So I get to Fort Hood in 2005, and I think it was 2005, everybody just got back from Iraq. People are getting out of the military. People are re-enlisting. People are changing units. Like it's a lot of commotion there.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was a corporal at the time, and they, I think they sent me to the E5 board rather quickly once I got there, because in a mechanized unit you have a whole bunch of Bradleys.
Yep.
I had never, I had never even seen a Bradley up close or a tank up close. But Bradleys have, the gun crews, and then they have the dismount element. So they tried to put me in a Bradley as a gunner or something like that. And I was just like, this is silly. Y'all need to put me, y'all need to put me back on the ground.
Yeah.
So they made me a dismount squad leader and then sent me to the E5 board. And so I was a 21-year-old E5.
Oh wow.
And 4 months later, they sent me to the E6 board, or 5 months later, they sent me to the E6 board.
Damn, dude, you're impressive, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, I mainly, first sergeant liked me a lot. And
Yeah.
I was, I was doing a squad leader job. So yeah, I went from E4 to E5 to E6, all in the span of like a year and a half. But I was only in E5 for 7 months before I pinned
Oh
E6.
wow.
So at the time, so I just turned 22. So I was a 22-year-old staff sergeant. And I think like, the 10th youngest staff sergeant in the Army at the time, something like that.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I got to see leadership challenges, pretty, pretty, pretty quickly, because it's it's a lot whenever you get kind of thrown into that type of leadership right before deployment, and being so young. But I wasn't a garrison type of squad leader. I was a wartime squad leader. So yeah, I pinned E6, and then we had probably about a full year before we deployed to Iraq, because we left for Iraq in West Baghdad,
Yeah.
October or August of 2006.
Let me ask you something here. So, like, I get from a lot of my guests on the show that being an infantry squad leader is like peak. I guess you
Mhm.
could say for an infantry guy. Like, did you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, it was badass, because like platoon sergeants are, they do more logistics and they have to stay with the tracks, and then first sergeants, very much so more um, uh, the logistics uh, the logistics element of the company. Yeah, it's where you want to be. It's like you get to do all the cool stuff. You get to raid the houses. You get to, you get to go run around and go get bad guys. But yeah, I loved being a squad leader. I didn't want to be in the Army any longer, but I enjoyed being a squad leader.
Yeah.
And so I got like a year of train up time before going to Iraq. And then we got there in, yeah, I think August of '06.
Yeah. And what are you hearing of Iraq compared to like Afghanistan? Because you kind of went reverse. Everybody I've had on, they usually go to Iraq first and then they go to Afghanistan. Like,
Mhm.
what are you hearing?
So we got to get like the intel brief whenever we were in Kuwait.
Mhm.
And at the time, that's whenever complex attacks were really taking off. EFP IEDs had just hit the scene. There was a sniper that was in kind of the AO that we were going to, that was just taking headshots on dudes and videoing it and like putting together highlight reels and posting them.
Yeah.
And so we got to see all that. We're just like, fuck, man, this does not this does not look like a great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so lots of IED training in Kuwait. We were there probably for like 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, so it was vastly different from what I had done in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was all long range patrols, walking around in the mountains, doing like the closest we shot at somebody in Afghanistan was 300 meters or something like that. Like it wasn't close quarters by any means. And like I said, really only had to deal with 3 IEDs throughout the whole tour. So we get to Iraq, and they're just like, you are going to see IEDs weekly in the AO that you're going to,
Yeah.
and you're going to see sniper fire, and you're going to see complex attacks. So we're just
Yeah.
like, all right, but at least we got a Burger King and air conditioning in our trailers. Like, that's nice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
you experienced something pretty unique because like you're going from Afghanistan, then you're going to a very IED heavy place, you know, and
mhm.
the IED changed the course of the war on both
Oh, for
sides,
sure.
both countries.
Yeah, because I mean, my whole wartime experience was all, on the ground, walking, running, doing
Yeah,
doing stuff outside of vehicles, and then now is primarily a vehicle based operation. So we really it was a learning curve for sure. And then
yeah,
also I hadn't been like there's no big metropolitan areas that we were in Afghanistan. Like we were running around in villages that had, no more than 2-story buildings in it. And then you get into West Baghdad and you're just like, oh, like this is a big city.
yeah, yeah,
And you're kind of like a country boy going to the big city the first time. You're just like, oh, this is a lot to take in.
yeah,
Um, and I want to say, so the way that they had us split up is they had our platoon attached to a tanker company. So the tankers would be incorporating the Abrams tank into patrols that were IED heavy so that the Abrams could trigger them and it wouldn't hit the Humvees or the Bradleys that we were in, depending on which one. So we then were just mainly doing patrols for the first 6 months. We would occasionally do a raid, or excuse me, not the first 6 months, for the first 2 or 3 months. And we were just doing route clearance for the most part. And then um, we just started getting hit with IEDs probably about every other week. And
yeah,
sometimes they would be small IEDs. Other times they would be like water heaters full of homemade
yeah,
explosive. So then we kind of had to switch it up to where like we need to go find out who's like we need to start doing operations to figure out like where these guys are coming from, and we got to get them.
yeah,
So that for the first few months of Iraq, we switched from patrol heavy only as kind of our route clearance deterrent
yeah,
to starting to do small kill teams. So we
yeah,
would do a patrol, and then we would do like a security halt, and then 3 of us would jump out and then go set up in a hide somewhere, and then the convoy would continue on. So it was like we were trying to do some sneaky boy stuff. We worked with our sniper section a lot, and we would just go out and like try and find who's planting IEDs and who's and where they're getting all this homemade explosive from. And that was helpful.
yeah,
We did make a dent in like this main AO that we would always get lit up in.
yeah,
And it was one of the coolest stories of success that we had is we got dropped off. It was me and 3 other guys. We had our interpreter with us, and we got dropped off. You could see we hit up in this barn. You could see down this long road that we always got IEDs on.
right.
And in the field next to us, the interpreter's like, keep an eye on this woman over here feeding her sheep. We're like, what's the deal with her? He's like, that's not how you feed sheep. It's like she was like being a herder, but she was doing it incorrectly. So we ended up getting her, and she had a cell phone on her. And so, the interpreter's like, what are you doing? Who are you with? Who are you looking out for? And the cell phone only had 2 numbers in it. So he said, tell us exactly, where these people are. So she points to a house down the road. And so we wait till nightfall, and then we take her phone, smash it, and we tell her, go play with your sheep out there. And so we end up raiding this house. And so we call in for backup, and we say, hey, Bradley's and vehicles, come back out here. We're going to go into this. It was kind of like a little suburb of Baghdad. And so we hit this house, and the guy wasn't there, but the interpreter takes one of the kids over, and he's like, hey, can you tell me where your uncle is? This guy right here. So he could tell by the pictures of who this guy we were supposed to be looking for is. And the kid says, yeah, that's my uncle. He lives 3 houses down. So the interpreter tells me that. He's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, let's have the kid point the house out. So we we take all the phones from inside the house, put them in a bag, set them outside. I grab the kid, and then we start running down the street. So it's me and three dudes. Bradley's are like 5 miles away, so we have no support. Me, three dudes, and an interpreter, and they're running down the street. 2 o'clock in the morning in West Baghdad, and then we're like, all right, point the house out, and he points out the house. So I'm like, all right, scurry on back home. So he takes off running, and then we hit the house, and it's Dragonoffs, sniper rounds, IED making materials, and two dudes just sitting there like, what the fuck? And so we went in there, threw them down,
Yeah.
searched the whole house, and like that was the cell. That were the guys that were implanting IEDs and throwing sniper rounds at us. So, you had to be a little adventurous. You had to think outside the box, but just like driving
Yeah.
down the same road looking for IED wire is not the way to do that job. And
Yeah.
it's also not the hearts and minds isn't even a factor there at that point.
Yeah. For someone that didn't want to get out of the army, you did very, very well.
Well, I had no choice, because I obviously got stop lost again, or got stop lost and extended again. So you had no choice but to like, let's make sure all of our boys come home safe. Like
Yeah,
that's like
absolutely.
at that point, that's your only choice,
Yeah. That's really what it's about, right? Like your brothers that are around you.
Because that same road that we were always getting just fucked up on that was the day that I got my my Archon with V device,
Yeah.
because we were coming back from a patrol. We had a Bradley up front and then three Humvees behind. IED strike hits the first Bradley, and so we do a security halt and maneuver our vehicles in place, and the gunner got shrapnel to his head or banged his head or something like that. So we brought him around to the rear Bradley, and the doc was patching him up. And so we're out there trying to like grab all the wires and take pictures and stuff like that of the IED. And then we start hearing sniper fire come in. So it was me and the LT out there taking all the pictures and his RTO, and then we bound all the way back to the very front vehicle. And so we get in there, we're like, all right, everybody good. And then we hear screaming over the radio that the sniper was shooting at the medic and the guy that got head injury that was in the back of the very back Brad. So we then had our medic shot, and then the guy who already got blown up is now shot, and it's only them in the back of the Bradley. So what we had to do is we had to bound all the way back, and the LT took cover behind this little mound of dirt, and then we were trying to get them to open up the Bradley ramp, because the ramp has to come down for us to get in there,
Yeah.
but we're also taking sniper fire at the time. So the LT gets pinned down behind this little berm, and then so I run out into the middle of the street and start shooting in the area that we thought the sniper fire was coming from, so the LT could get back. And then they position the Brad to where the back ramp is away from the fire. So then we jump in there, and so I'm doing work on the medic. The LT's doing work on the guy that got shot. Lucky as hell, it just grazed his head. So he was still in shock, obviously having a terrible day. But our medic also got a lucky shot in the sense that it shot him right in the ass cheek. It missed all of his bone and his femoral artery and came
Oh,
out the
dang.
front. So it like he still was
Yeah.
hurt really bad, but no femoral bleeding. So I was doing first aid on him. LT's doing first aid on the other guy. And then we get there's nowhere we can call a 9-line medevac in. So we basically had to pull up onto this major highway, and I get out, or right before I get out, the LT's trying to call stuff in. The medic leans over and he finishes up bandaging up the other guy, the guy that got shot in the head. So I'm doing first aid on him. He's doing first aid on this other guy. And I'm just like, this dude is hardcore, man. Like that's our medic right there.
Yeah.
And so whenever I get out to basically stop traffic, I basically walk out on this highway, and it's like rush hour traffic in downtown Baghdad. And so I have to stop all these vehicles, and I have the RTO's radio on. So I'm just talking, calling in 9-line medevac. The the guy who was then doing first aid on the medic couldn't get his IV line in. So the medic was just like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. So he gives himself his own IV. And we're
Yeah.
just like, dude, this is our boy. Shout out Teddy Day. He was our medic, and he was fucking gangster, man.
Yeah.
So he got picked up by the helicopter and got taken to the hospital. So that was like, after something like that, we're like, we got to stop driving down this road. We got to find these guys that are hit, like, that just keep hitting us. And it was like 2 weeks later is whenever we got those guys on that raid. And so I
Yeah.
emailed the picture to Teddy Day and be like, hey man, we got your dudes. Here's them with flex cuffs and burlap sacks over their heads.
Damn, dude, that is a crazy course, like, of 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
dude, this is exactly why I started what I did, because, like, dude, that a story like that, dude, is like, it's the epitome of like what a dude, like what an American did over there, man. Like, and you're
Yeah.
like you're a real warrior, man.
I had no choice, zero
Yeah,
choice.
I know. Hey, man, you rose to the occasion, though, man. Some people fold pretty quick, especially like they're miserable, they don't want to do it, But like you
Yeah.
said, you had no choice, and it's better that you went out that way.
So the crazy thing about bravery versus courage, or being fearless versus brave. So I
Right.
was fearless my whole time in Iraq until I went home on block leave. So we got extended to 8 or to 16 months while we were there. And I was like, of course, another deployment extended. But I let all my guys go on leave first. So it was 9 months in until I took my leave back home. And I had so much fun. And I knew that I was actually going to get out of the army as soon as I got back, because there was no way for them to keep me any longer. That I was just like, man, I got to make it back. I got to make sure these guys make it back. Like it changed my fear. So I was no longer fearless. I was now scared and nervous. And I was like, I got to make sure these guys get back safe. So I had to be actually brave at that point.
Yeah.
So the last 6 months, I was just like, I was still executing as I would execute, but it's just mentally, I was like, I wasn't like, fuck it, let's ride. Like that's how it was the first 9 months. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I wanted to be either the number one or the number two guy in on every single raid, even though a squad leader is supposed to be, the fourth or fifth guy.
Yeah.
So, and that was just the mentality. And then, after that, I feel like I was probably a little less rambunctious, and a little bit more reserved whenever it came to just being out in sector.
Yeah. And did you know at that time, like, hey, this is the downhill part of your career? I mean, you never actually wanted to make it a career or anything like that, but like
No,
this
no,
is
no,
like
no.
your
As soon as I got,
your mentality, like going, like, just trying
yeah,
to
I'm
set
so
yourself
close to the edge. I'm so close to the end of this. Yeah, I wanted to get out since I was at 30th AG, looking around like, man, I don't know if this is going to be a lot of fun.
down.
So yeah, and then uh, once I got back, so the going back to this, not being a garrison soldier, our sergeant major uh, did not like me, to say the least. So I got for my for my time in Iraq, I got I got put in for a Bronze Star with V for the day, the IED sniper not getting shot day, and then I got put in for two more Bronze Stars without V. And the so whenever we got back and we did our award ceremony, that's when they let me know that they downgraded everything to to two Arcoms and then one Arcom with V. So I was
Yeah.
just like, you know what, man? Like I'm over it. Like I'm getting out of the military. Send me my shit in the mail. Like let's it's time to skedaddle.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then then started the whole transition process, and that's that was a whole uh, that was a whole uh, deployment on its own.
Yeah. How was it getting out of the army?
I mean, I had some family, in the Austin San Marcos area, which made things nice. I started working downtown as a door guy. So that was, you know, good and bad. you know, uh, things got violent from time to time. So it was like kind of an
Yeah.
outlet for stressors and things like that. I knew that I wanted to go to college. So I started, I took a traveling security job for a while and then came back and still worked in the downtown scene while I was in college. So I was still kind of partying a lot, but still trying to, slug it out through college. It was okay. I mean, looking back on it, I definitely uh, did party a lot as kind of an outlet. Didn't really, work internally on mental health and making sure that I was ready
Yeah.
to just be a civilian again.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it went pretty well. I guess, I would not tell anybody like, yeah, get a job where you have to fight people sometimes. There's going to be a lot of drinking and, try to go to college while you're, downtown 3 or 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
So I advise people a vastly different route than what I took. But I also got to meet a lot of other veterans and a lot of other infantry guys while I was in college. So we
Yeah.
all kind of came together. So I was hanging out with 5 to 10 other veterans all the time whenever I was in college.
Yeah.
So that made it really, because like you talk to guys that have a tough time transitioning as they go back to a small town in Montana with no other veterans or not a lot going on, and it's like it's tough. But for me,
Yeah.
I had some family in the area. I met some Marine infantry dudes, ex special forces guy, a couple other Army infantry dudes, and like we gelled out, went to the bars, palled around, barbecued, do all the things. So
Yeah. You
uh,
know, it's important that you mention all this stuff because like you're still young at this time, dude. You're 22, 23, right? Around that age. And
yeah, I think I got out at 23.
yeah, and what do you spend all your youth in combat? Like, you think
Yeah,
about it, right? Like
no,
from
so I got out
23.
right. Yeah, I got out in 2008. So I got out right before my 25th birthday.
Oh,
And I was just like, man, so once I turned 25, I was like, I'm 25 and I already have like 25 months in combat. Like this
yeah.
is, so I was already, um, I was also real hard on myself about going, I wanted to graduate college before I turned 30. And for just an arbitrary number that I put, out there. And so, yeah, I mean, I was still young. The way that I put it is like, you don't mature socially while you're in the military. So
No.
like I was still, whenever I got out, I had the social mentality of an 18-year-old kid
Yeah.
and being a 25-year-old. So it's like there's some friction points there in society. But at the time, still in 2008, there was still a big support your troops vibe in the US. Like,
Yeah.
um, you it was just different back then. Like Toby Keith type songs,
Yeah.
put a boot in your ass. Like everybody was still like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit, you're a veteran? That's what's up, dude. Like, thanks for your service." It's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck yeah, man, I'm
Yeah.
out." And I feel like I said I just got back from Iraq for like the first year and a half after I got back from Iraq.
That's funny, man.
Yeah,
Dang,
because
so
like it becomes like it was a big part of my identity. And
yeah.
then, once I went to school for advertising. And then whenever I was so proud of getting a degree because while we were in as a tactic to get dudes to stay in the army, they would throw out a whole bunch of bullshit stats of like, if you're an infantryman, you have a 3% chance of getting out and graduating college. Like the
Yeah.
dropout rate is so high. And
Yeah.
then so you're just like, oh, like so I already thought the deck was stacked against me. I was just like, the odds are not in my favor. Like I've got to do this and like I'm gonna do it. And then you get out and just like, well, what do you mean? They're like 65%, graduate graduate college. What do you oh, okay. So they're just feeding us a whole bunch of bullshit to try and guilt us into staying in the army.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I still had that mentality of like, the chances are I'm not going to make it. So, like, I need to try really hard. So, I took college fairly seriously, graduated right before my 30th birthday. And, then I feel like being a veteran became less of my identity because I then had like this corporate career that I was starting to work on. And so that it kind of was like a 50-50 thing, or maybe an 80-20 thing. And
Yeah.
as my career progressed, there was less and less military on the resume. So
Yeah.
it's not like I was leaving it behind, but it was becoming a smaller portion of who I was,
Yeah.
or who part of my personality, what it became.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's like,
I was watching one of your videos, and you were talking about leveraging the veteran status, more than it being your identity, right?
right, but
Right.
without relying on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's
Yeah,
important, dude. That's important. That what you said in that video. A lot of people fucking they're still wearing the grunt style. Like, dude, like,
yeah.
bro, we get it, bro. Calm down, dude.
Yeah, and I mean that's like folks need to find an outlet, or they need to find that like where that identity plugs in. And it's like I see it now. So like I've been in the entrepreneur space for 3 years now. And there's a lot of folks that are entrepreneurs that are like they'll tell you they're an entrepreneur because it's kind of like being a vegetarian, they'll tell you. But that's
Yeah,
a big part of their identity. They're very proud of it.
yeah,
So like I could see the kind of the similarities there between like I'm a veteran. It's just like, all right, cool. Like what else do you do? It's just like fuck veteran, man. That's what I do. It's like,
yeah,
all right, like no hobbies, no Pokemon cards or golf or like
yeah,
so now I feel like where I am now, it's like the big portions of my personality are like being my family, being a dad and a husband, and
yeah.
then being an
Absolutely.
entrepreneur. Probably a little less on the veteran stuff now, but it doesn't mean that I'm not less proud of it. Like
Yeah.
I just got my little shadow box set up for
Oh, nice.
like 3 weeks ago. So I was like,
Yeah,
I've been out of the army for 17 years. Like I think it's time to get a little shadow box going.
yeah,
So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and we're kind of just still getting started.
yeah, for sure, man. And it's like you said, dude. And I met you through the TikTok, and it's like there's even a different veteran thing. It's like veteran and combat veteran vibe
Hmm.
going on too, and it's so weird, dude. Like, I don't know why. I think it's the social media that's really just like blowing smoke everywhere, getting crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's really weird. I never wanted to be like I don't consider myself an influencer. That's not what my goal is. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to. I have the social media to just give information of basically successes and failures that I've had
yeah,
through both my transition or transition to civilian life, uh, job market, college, starting my businesses. So it's just kind of throwing the education out there. But I get why I didn't want to do this in the first place. It's like it's 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 all everybody's full of shit. Just everybody's full of it. Yeah, I was talking to a girl who she was a veteran spouse, and because I volunteer with Higher Heroes, and
right.
so I do like mock interviews and resume work with veterans and their spouses. I was talking to this gal. She was educated, but she had been a stay-at-home mom, and she was just like, I look at LinkedIn, and I see all these people with all these titles, and I feel like everybody's just doing so much better than what I should be. And I was like, do you know the Instagram versus reality thing? How it looks a lot different in person. She goes, yeah. I was like, it's the same thing on LinkedIn. Everybody's only putting their best face forward. Everybody's most likely full of shit. The same way with any of these other social media platforms, everybody's going to talk a big game to try and make themselves seem like somebody who they either want to be or who they think they should be. And whenever it comes to just online, I don't want to say hate because I don't really get a whole lot of hate, but I think it was like my second video that somebody was like, look at like, fuck you, you bald clown. I was just like, I'm talking about the Small Business Administration veteran certification right now. Like, I'm not even doing a hot take. Like, and it's like, don't put your effort into trying to make people see where you're coming from, and also know that hurt people hurt. So and there's so much of that on social media. So I take it with a grain of salt. Like I talk about some business stuff, I talk about some veteran transition stuff, and like
Yeah.
that's the purpose there.
Dude, everything that I've watched on your TikTok is you're not really as active on the other stuff. But like the TikTok, like it's good information, and like for me personally, like the short clips and everything, it's more engageful,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean I like it. I understand that there's a
No,
lot of people full of shit.
overwhelmingly large amount of positive feedback, but it's like,
Yeah,
every now and then somebody's just, throws a little hate out there.
yeah. Hey, they gotta keep you humble, man. They can keep you honest, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude. So yeah, dude. Tell me a little bit about the dialed in staffing.
So I was in corporate staffing for a few years, kind of right
Yeah,
whenever COVID started, and I saw the way these larger businesses were running their operations, and I was like, I could I could do this better. I could leverage partnerships more. I don't want to have quota, like all these things that I really hated about the job, but I really liked the industry. So I started up my own staffing business, staffing and recruiting in early 2023. So tough job market. The tech sector was kind of collapsing. It was very much so the worst economic climate in my industry to start your own company.
yeah,
So I learned a lot. I got my certified veteran owned small business by the Small Business Administration, and that opened up a lot of doors for me because I knew how to do sales. And so I made a lot of progress my first year and a half. My staffing firm is an approved vendor for 80 Fortune 500 companies, and whenever I meet other veteran entrepreneurs, they're like, how did you do that? Like that's crazy. Like I wouldn't even think that's attainable. And so I just got so many requests to help them to just provide help essentially from either a coaching perspective, consulting, uh, and then finally social media, that I started up Red 7, the Red 7 strategy group, with the sole mission of helping veteran owned small businesses gain access to the Fortune 500 vendor space.
yeah,
Because there's a lot of veteran business owners out there that don't have all their certs in order just because they don't want to get their certs. And they would never think that working with these large businesses or having these partnership opportunities would even be possible. So I launched Red 7, which Red 7 was my call sign in Iraq.
okay,
So even after I launched the company, I found out that the Red 7 betting strategy is leveraging utilizing your leverage over the house while you still have it. So I was like, oh, okay, that kind of works out.
yeah, yeah,
So I started up Red 7 last year to just help veteran business owners. So that's the YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram are really what I'm pumping just small bits of content out. I'm not an expert in a lot of things, but I know a little bit about some stuff. So I'll talk about those. Talk about my failures as well. Those are just as important to learn from.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what we got going on now.
Nah, dude, it's important stuff, man. Because I talked to some of my like I told you in the beginning, it was more like bringing my friends together, and we talk about our friends that are still in. It's like, dude, when you get as a first sergeant, you can't be talking to people the way you're talking to people,
Right.
or your lingo isn't gonna work, or like, hey, you can't counsel somebody because they're doing this, dude. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't. You gotta kind of like split it off and come into reality, you know?
I mean, I talk to veterans or service members that are about to get out that just have unrealistic expectations, and
Yeah,
that's a problem. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not going to be Debbie Downer over here, but it's like you're not going to get a six-figure job if you don't have this type of experience in the civilian world, and
yeah,
it's a tough pill for them to swallow sometimes.
yeah,
But I think just aligning your expectations with reality is because that eases the transition.
yep,
Because if you have all these self expectations of I'm going to get this job or I'm going to do this or all this, and it's not realistic, then you're gonna take a mental hit whenever you're trying to get out and get get your career in order, get your life in order. And it's going to hinder that next step.
yeah, man. That's deep. It's deep and true. It is deep and true. Like, dude, I mean, I see it all the time, and then, like you said, there's a difference between reality and then the social media life, and it's like you have veterans that are like, oh, here's 2 pictures of me, and then here's me with a 6-figure job, and then people are wanting that. They're like, I can get out and go do that. I can get out.
Yeah, but
That should be me.
there's also it's some I think it's some proverb of like nobody wants to water the tree for 5 years just to take advantage of the shade, something
Yeah,
like that. It's like there's no get rich quick schemes. There's no secret way around, getting past the interview to get the job. Like, especially in the entrepreneur space, there's a lot of people that sell courses or try to uh, influence on these like cockamamie get rich squid, like be an Amazon sub vendor and just like sell like ship packages from your house. It's like
yeah,
what? No, that's why I try to make sure that in any conversation that I have, that it's like, look, I'm not rich. Okay. Like I'm slugging it out in the trenches just like everybody else. Like, but the way that I've grown my staffing business has been a long road. It's been slow, incremental, like get some new clients, get some people hired, like slowly work towards it. And that's not the mentality for some.
yeah,
Nobody wants to start over, especially after, you know, eating it in the army for 20 years.
yeah.
But, if you don't have that experience, like you're not going to get that job.
Right. So we're coming to the end of this, and like I usually ask, so you have a great way of saying, hey, you need to be able to translate things and all this other stuff. Like, what would you tell the guy that, hey, I'm not adapting to the garrison, I'm gonna retire, or I'm gonna get out? Like, hey, what would you tell them about not even starting a new business or just trying to transition back into a citizen, a civilian, whatever they want to call it, a citizen life, civilian life?
Yeah, I would say investigate all of your options. Talk to a lot of people that have different views or different careers or different ideas than what you already have, because they could put you on, like, it's okay to course correct. It's okay to think you want to do college and then you get into college, you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is not for me. And then you
Yeah,
go the trades route, or there's a number of different opportunities out there. There's also a lot of resources for veterans. This is kind of a hot take because everybody says we need to be doing more for veterans. We need to be doing more in in the entrepreneur space. There's a ton of resources for veterans. So if you do want to start up your own business, start up your side business, whatever the case is, like there's people out there that will help you. There's organizations that will help you. If you just want to jump right into the job market, I would say get on LinkedIn, look up a whole bunch of people that have that exact job that you want, and then look at all of their experience. Does all of your military experience equate to their civilian experience? If not, then you're going to have to get that civilian experience to get that role. Okay.
yeah.
And being just because you put on a tourniquet doesn't qualify you to work at an ad agency. There's
Right.
people, there's people
Yeah,
that think like I work well under pressure. I'm sure I could handle whatever, bullshit they throw at me. It's just like, yeah, man, you're not going to put on tourniquets at an advertising agency. So that experience doesn't translate. I'm
yeah,
glad you did it. You can work well under pressure. Cool. That is 5% of this job responsibility.
yeah,
What do you have for the other 95? So it's just coming to grips with reality, do your research, talk to a whole bunch of people, figure out where you want to go. And even if you start going down a path, it's never too late to course correct, pivot, do something else.
yeah, dude. That's great advice because not everybody is gonna retire and have pension. Like they're gonna get out after 4 years or three
Mm-hmm.
years. That's dude, and you know how we okay, I'm gonna go ahead and point this out that I've noticed. So like us talking right here, like it's way different from like your professional little TikTok that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, like when you're getting out of the military, army, marines, whatever it is, the way you talk to each other, it's not gonna work the
Oh, for
way we're
sure. You gotta
so
put on your corporate face if you
yeah,
want to. And that's why like even social media is a good the content that you put out there, you need to be careful
yep,
because like most of my customers from corporate staffing are going to be on LinkedIn. And I don't put any I don't put any content on LinkedIn just because all of my content is for veterans, transitioning veterans, current service members, veteran entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
everybody in that space. And it's a different style of talking, you know.
Yeah.
So like be careful what you put out there, you know,
Yeah.
because that it could come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. For sure. What about, I don't know if you can, but like, hey, a guy that or a person that wants to start their own business, like, tell them what.
Oh man, if you
Some
want to
short,
start your
quick.
own, yeah, if you want to start your own business, here's like a few things to do right off the bat.
Okay.
Get an LLC. It's
Uh-huh.
$100 at LegalZoom. All right.
Okay.
Once you get that, you're then going to be able to get registered at sam.gov. Sam.gov is the federal procurement, so
Yep.
you're able to um, get your company involved in government bidding. Once you get your sam.gov registration, you go over to the Small Business Administration and then get your veteran-owned small business cert. Those are the three things right off the bat. They cost the only cost is for the LegalZoom, $100. It's free at sam.gov, free at the SBA. And then once you have yourself a certified veteran-owned small business, then you can do whatever you want. You know, whatever it is that, whether it's you want to start up your own advertising agency, pressure washer, staffing firm, whatever it is. Like once you get those three things done, it opens up all the doors for you.
Uh, Good advice,
That's
dude.
it. Those three right there.
Yeah. Well, Matt Kemp, I really enjoyed this show. Do you have any questions, comments for me, or anything like that,
No,
Matt?
man. If anybody wants to learn more about just random veteran business stuff, you know, Red 7 Strategy Group on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
Yeah.
You could hit me up in the DMs if you have questions. I always answer anybody that has just one-off questions. Yeah, let me know how I could help, man. I'm here to educate and elevate
Yeah.
the veteran and veteran entrepreneur community.
Yeah. I'll link all your socials, your website, everything down below. And thank you, Matt Kemp. I know you got a very busy schedule. And Matt
It's
Kemp,
all good.
everybody, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, brother.
Yeah, it was a fun time, man. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. Please go ahead and follow Matt at his TikTok. He also has a YouTube. If you guys need any help with your veteran small business, please hit him up. I really appreciate you guys watching this and continuing the journey with me. Please share the content again, and we'll catch you on the next one.